Oh, hello. Welcome to today's Decay. We're celebrating births and beginnings. Everything important. Since the dawn of time. January 17th edition. All day. I realized I had done this one last year, and it was a cute one with a dog. But I've been doing a lot of reruns, and I figured I should probably show my face, right? Anyway, what all happened today? 1859, today, Oscar Metenier was born, the creator of the Grand Guignol live spectacle theater in France. And I think 1897 is when it first opened its doors. Andre Lord and a couple of other filmmakers, or rather stage directors and playwrights, wind up coming on after Oscar Metenier really starts Grand Guignol and taking it into making it their own and making it that much more gruesome and bloody, and it's quite exciting to see photos and scripts and everything of what they were doing. The original stuff that Oscar Metenier was doing was maybe a little bit more tepid, but you wouldn't have had what came later with Andre Lord without Oscar Metenier starting off what he did, right? So, thanks to both of them. I'd say that's teamwork if I've ever seen it before. What else? Today, Emmy Hennings was born, 1885, who was a Dadaist artist and puppeteer and performer. Along with her partner Hugo Ball, they started Cabaret Voltaire together. There's some really great photos of her as a carnival fedora of some kind. I'd love to know the backstory for it. I don't, but it's really great imagery nonetheless. You could easily compare the two. Oscar Metenier with his Grand Guignol work, with Emmy Hennings with her Cabaret Voltaire work and her various stage performance work. This is all really exciting, wonderful stuff that is lost to time. You were either there for it or you weren't, right? Yeah, which is kind of why I really enjoy live theater. It wasn't, unlike creating live theater, it was never something that it was interested in me as a kid. It was always like Nosferatu and Cabaret de Caligari and all the German expressionist films. Which is what I was trying to say the other day, but I think the wind, I was putting on airs. It was way too windy. You get brief glimpses of what was going on in live theater saved in the films of the day, because these were popular and interesting and noteworthy and made the news. And sometimes these elements creeped into cinema, and sometimes those cinematic creations last till today, or continue to exist. A lot of it's lost, some of it is not, and I'm happy to say that stuff still is there. There's live, or rather there's filmed versions of the Grand Guignol, not the actual Grand Guignol itself, but people's remembrances of it, second or third hand. Mad Love, the opening scenes from Mad Love with Peter Lorre, takes place in the Grand Guignol itself. There's a bunch of other films that do similar. I'm not sure who or what's documented Cabaret Voltaire. That would be interesting, right? Yeah, I'm not sure. Anyway, Alva Rogers, born today in 1923, who was a science fiction, fantasy, horror illustrator. Here is some of her work. I can't think of too many female illustrators at this time. But here you go. There's one of them right there. Or her work, rather. This is a British reproduction of what basically went up in Weird Tales magazine around the same time. You've got Robert Black, Clark Ashton Smith, and the like in here. Yeah. Eartha Kitt, born today in 1927, and Light Vision versus the Ants premiered today on Escape Radio in 1948. Carl Stevenson, is that the author's name? The Man Who Loved Ants. I know was what Forrest J. Ackerman used to like to lovingly refer to him as. I think he was his literary agent at some point, and I know he would hang out with him and like have like these like dinner parties for like him and a bunch of the elderly, who were writing 50 years before, who most of the he told me in with a big smile on his face that most of the like dinner party consisted of the time it took to like drive and pick everybody up one after another, bring them to the house to have dinner, and then one by one drive and drop them off. But the people involved were like, visionaries and like the pillars of science fiction, fantasy, and horror writing. So, okay. Yeah. And if you haven't listened to this old time radio play, definitely do. It's really good. I'd say the only one that really tops it for me is Three Skeleton Key. But Lineage versus the Ants is super fun and really scary. Just like, turn the lights off and find it on YouTube or something like that, and just let like this whole other world envelop you. Yeah. Anyway, part of why I was thinking keep doing this was I wrote this calendar that I like year by year would add to, like a physical calendar. It goes a little something like this. Let's see here. It was the Midnight Monster Hop calendar. I was booking bands and DJing and like horror hosting the last Saturday of every month for many. Well, eventually it was horror hosting. At first it was just rock and roll bands and DJing. And then the last 5 years of it or so, we took our horror host characters from Phantom Creep Theater and brought them in for Phantom Creep Radio, broadcasting out of the Midnight Monster Hop. Typical branding. I'm not sure that it ever really truly worked or made sense to anybody, but it was fun. In the meantime, we were booking bands, and this, like, the sheets are like pull-away sheet, like the months are like pull-away sheets. Yeah, okay. Exhibit A. And like, you've got the last Saturday of every month, which was our events at Otto Shrunken Head, with like bands and stuff, and then the rest of the month was just like literally the same things I'm talking about right now. So I don't research this stuff on a daily basis. I just, refer to ye old calendar, and that's the story. But then I realized that everything that I did, because like the last time I did this was probably 5 years ago or so, and like I was kind of adding to it as I was going over like the 5-year span prior to that we started doing these. Are you following me? Maybe. I realized that there's a whole bunch of things that I never made note of that like have happened in the last 5 years for me in my life that I've come across that I've like really enjoyed that I realized wasn't in here. During COVID, I got involved with this like weird fiction book club, and they turned me on to a whole bunch of really awesome writers, especially like modern stuff that I think I've always kind of just been in this hole of like 20s, 30s, I suppose, but be it modern stuff or things from like the early 1800s or whatever, we go all over the map, or different films I found in the last literally 5 years, or artists or whatever, how life kind of continued in the last 5 years. It's not on my calendar. My life, as far as marking it on these pages, stopped then. So that's wrong. And so I started like changing that and making notes and figuring out what's next and like adding to it. And I'm not saying I'm gonna have another physical physical calendar, but maybe. But either way, like I'm not leaving it as it was and adding to it because that's exciting and important and shows growth. It means I'm an adult. So says me. Anyway, that's it. The whole day. All sorts of exciting things for you to plan your life around, should you choose to. January, whatever the hell I said, today. All day, till tomorrow. Goodbye.